Hello, my crafting friends, and happy Half-O-Ween! That's right, we are already halfway to Halloween, and I think that's the perfect excuse to do some fun rustic fall crafts. So come craft with me. My name is Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primrose Lane Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting again with me in the future. And now, let's fall craft. For today's projects, I'm going to be using this DOS air dry clay. I get this off of Amazon. This is in the color white. This is my favorite clay to craft with. It's really budget friendly. I get this in this 2-pound block. I get quite a few projects out of one of these as well. So I'm just going to start off by ripping my clay into multiple small little sections here and rolling them into balls. We're going to be making little miniature candy corns that are perfect to throw in, say, a dough bowl with some potpourri or even any tiered tray. So I'm going to break these off into multiple small little sections, roll it in a ball, and I'm going to just start using my fingers to start shaping this into the form of a triangle. These do not have to be perfect. These are going to be little rustic, primitive candy corn. So some imperfections are, I guess, kind of expected. You kind of want that to have that handmade element to these, not uniform perfection that you would get with, say, store-bought. These have charm to them, that primitive charm. So you just want to keep working your clay, using your fingers to shape it to a general triangle shape, smooth around your edges. And I'm making these about approximately a 1/2 inch thick. Doesn't have to be exact, but somewhere right around there. Just smoothing it out. You just don't want any cracks. That's the biggest thing, no cracks. And if your clay, say you do get a crack or you have sections maybe drying out a little bit, it's just not wanting to mold very well, you can always take a couple drops of water on your finger and add to your clay, and it will help that clay become a lot more pliable and cooperative to work with. So here's what my first one looks like. And the great thing about each one of these, they're each going to be different. No two candy corn will be alike. Each one is going to be unique. And that's kind of the part of the fun of this whole project. This is even a really fun project to say get kids or grandkids in if you want to do a fun little fall craft with them. Grab some clay and make some little candy corn with them. Just going to kind of flatten mine out to start with. Roll it in a ball, kind of squish it flat, and then start molding it. Working with clay is so much fun if you've not done it. It's kind of like Play-Doh for adults. I really love actually working with clay. It's really fun. So once you get all of your candy corn made, you just want to let these dry for about 24 hours, and this is what they will come out. These dry nice and hard, not the foamy kind of air dry clay. This is nice and solid. Now the fun part, we get to paint our candy corn. So I'm going in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin here, and I'm just going to do my bottom section orange. And I'm just kind of eyeballing where these colors should start and stop. I'm going to go with my yellow here in the center. And this does not have to be perfect. You're painting. Do not worry if you're like, oh, I can't paint. And you can see right here, actually, I totally wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing, and I painted the entire top yellow, but no big deal. Easy fix. Like I said, these do not have to be perfect. You just get as close as you can and have fun with it. You'll find that these are actually a lot more forgiving than what you would realize they are, especially when you get down to where those colors are. If your yellow goes a little bit into your orange, kind of mixes, you don't really tell so much. And if it's too much, you can always just grab a little orange paint and go back over it. So here on the top, I'm going to go in with my white chalk paint, and you can see it fixed that place that I accidentally painted yellow, just like it never happened. So here's what they'll look like. And I'm going to continue doing this with all of my little candy corns that I make. How many of you actually like to eat candy corn? I know I've asked this before. I asked this last year when I did some bowl filler candy corns or stuffed ones, I think. And Of course, I love candy corn. There's two kinds of people in the world, people who love candy corn, people who don't. And a lot of times they marry each other. Like, my husband hates it and I love it. So I've asked this before. Drop me a comment. Let me know how many of you are on team candy corn and how many think it deserves to go in the garbage. But whether you like to eat it or not, they're super cute to decorate in the fall with. Even if you're not a Halloween person, they still look adorable in the fall, just in general fall decor as well. How cute are these little guys? I'm absolutely loving these. Once all of your candy corns are painted and they are dry, I'm going to go in and do a little distressing. And I'm going to use my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to put a really light amount on my brush. I'm going to blot a lot of it off so it's really light and just start going over my candy corn. I want this to have this nice primitive grunge look. If that primitive grungy look is not really your style, just skip this step and keep them the solid colors. That look's not for everyone. I completely understand. But look how adorable. I love it personally. It's really a personal preference. Some people love a lot, some people like a little, some people like none at all. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think they look cute either way. And friends, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to drop down and hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting again with me in the future. And be sure to drop me a comment. Let me know if you're team candy corn or team put it in the garbage. Or just tell me happy Half-O-Ween or hello. I always love to hear from you when you're watching my videos to know who's watching. And here these are once they're all done, painted and dried. These turn out so adorable. They look so pretty down in a little bowl of potpourri or even in a tiered tray mixed in. Now for this next DIY, we are once again going to be using this clay and we're going to be making some more candy corn, but these are going to be larger ones. These are going to be ones that will actually stand up on their own that you can say put on a shelf or in a tiered tray. So I'm going to use a little bit larger section of dough here and I'm going to start flattening it out. I'm going to want these to be close to around an inch thick because like I said, I want these to be able to stand on their own. So they need to have a little bit more heft to them. So once I get it flattened out to approximately the width I need, then I'm just going to start taking my fingers and I'm going to start shaping it into this triangle shape. And just like before, these do not have to be perfect. You don't want them to be necessarily perfect. I love that handmade element to these and the unique individuality of each one. And I'm going to make these at a couple different sizes because I want them to be kind of tiered. So I'm going to make my first one around between 3 and 4 inches tall here. And then my second one will be slightly shorter. The biggest thing to remember with these is since we do want them to stand up is make sure your bottoms are flat. So stand them up, make sure that there are not any really big grooves or anything that's going to prevent these once these dry from standing up correctly. We don't want them to be wobbly or fall over easily. So I'm going to start working on my second one here. Same process, just work with it. This one, the clay was a little dry. I had to add a little bit of water to it. It was getting some cracks in it that I couldn't quite get to mold together. But a little bit of water just added to it, fixed it. Sometimes if I let it sit here out on the side as I'm working with another piece, it can sometimes get a little bit drier and it just needs that little dab of water to make it pliable again. So I like to stand them up here to make sure those bottoms are good and to check the sizes, make sure they look good, proportionate with one another, and also to check that the widths are relatively or close to the same. We want our little candy corns to be matching. Now, before I let these dry, I'm going to score ease here and where I want the different sections to be. I didn't do this with the smaller ones, but on these larger ones, I want to make these small indentations. And I'm just using this little piece of wood. This is just one of those little wood sticks that comes in a polyfill fiber bag that you can use to stuff corners with your stuffing, but I use it to make lines in my clay. Just anything like that, even an unsharpened pencil would work. And I'm just going to lightly score where I want my different sections of my candy corn to be and let those dry for about 24 hours. And just like that, this is how they look. Now they've drawn, they're nice, solid, hard, and we get to paint them. Same as with the small ones, I'm going to go in with my orange, my yellow, and my white. These are a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to see, easier to paint, and with the scores that would put them in them, oh my goodness, my tongue's getting tied. With the scores we put in them, it makes it a little easier to see. You know exactly where your sections are going to be. And once again, don't stress over the painting. If you're someone who's not big into painting things, this is super easy and it's super forgiving, and any mistake is easily fixed. And they're primitive. A little bit of we like a little bit of that non-perfection. They're perfectly imperfect. Handmade with love. Now, even though my clay is white, I do go over the tops with the white. I guess you really wouldn't have to, but I like it just kind of brightens it up just a little bit and gives all of it kind of the same texture with the paint. Now, once they're all painted, I'm going to go in once again with my Waverly Antique Wax because I want these to be primitive and distressed. And with a really light amount again, I'm going to start on my edges. And I'm just going to kind of highlight these edges with the antique wax. And I like to use my finger to blend a lot. So the antique wax comes off your hands real easy, thankfully. But I'm just going to use that to blend and get it down in this clay, go around my edges, and I'm going to go over top those score lines there in between the colors and get that wax down in there, and then just gently pull my brush across the entire top just to give it a little bit of that antiqued look all over it. Like I said before, if that primitive grungy looks not really your thing, just skip this part. And I'm going to do this over my whole piece, front, back, sides. Look how cute. I love how these turn out. I'm going to do the same thing with my other one. I'm friends with the clay too, let me mention this. So you get the big pound, it's a 2-pound block of clay that you get. And like I said, you'll get a lot of projects out of it, but it stores really nicely if you just put it in a Ziploc bag, squeeze all the air out, put it in a Ziploc bag. You don't want to store it in like the direct sunlight or anything like that, but it really does keep for a while. And here are what these turn out. Pop these in a tiered tray. There you can see some of the small ones around this too. These are so cozy and I adore these for fall. And here is Miss Molly. She got a new toy and she wanted to show it off. She was not going to leave me alone until I gave her some attention with her new toy. So here she is. She's saying hello to everyone. She's such a ham. So for this last one, we are going in with our clay once again. And except this time we're going to make an adorable little ghost. This is going to be a standing one as well, just like the two candy corns where we just made. And we're going to make a little ghost, and we're going to make an adorable little pumpkin to go with him because we couldn't do a fall craft without making some sort of pumpkin. So I'm going to flatten it out a little bit here, my chunk of clay, and get it to about that 1/2 inch or so width that I want. Since this will be standing up, we want it to be a little bit thicker again. 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, somewhere around there. And I'm going to start shaping him. Now you could really do any size or any shape ghost that you wanted to. I kind of want to do something a little more whimsical, and I thought I'm going to make the top of him here kind of sway over and maybe curl over, kind of like he's a little wispy ghost that's kind of blowing in the wind, and his little form is kind of rolling with the wind and rolling over a little bit on the top. But you could just do a traditional, just little rounded ghost top too. I'm seeing this little twist that over. See, he's just kind of blowing in the breeze. And I'm going to kind of go around the top here, maybe where his little head face is going to be. A little wider at the bottom. Just have fun with these. I'm just going to smooth it out. I don't want any too big lumps or cracks or anything like that. And once again, make sure your bottom is flat so that when these dry, they will stand and not be wobbly. I say clay is so much fun to work with. I don't know if some of you may have seen in the spring, I did a clay bunny and some other clay crafts. They were really fun and cute. Clay is just so much fun to work with. I think so, at least. I recommend giving it a try. I'd like to stand my little guy up here so that I can kind of make sure it's going to look how I want it to look once it's standing up. And you can kind of see the width. This one's probably more like 3/4 of an inch thick. Now while he's set aside drying, I'm going to make our little pumpkin. And just start by rolling into a nice little ball in my hands here. Then I'm going to lay it down. Kind of give it a little twist here, and then I'm going to start pinching the top. Just gently pinching from side to side, going around so that it kind of starts coming up looking like a little Hershey Kiss top. This is going to be our stem. I'm just going to keep gently pinching and squishing this till it is long enough that I can twist the stem a little bit, because I want my stem to have a little bit of whimsy to it. Give it a little bit of a curl there. And really, these pumpkins you could make in any size you wanted. You could do multiple sizes if you wanted to. So once the standard pumpkin shape is made, I'm going to take my little wood tool here, and I'm just going to make some little lines, score some little pumpkin lines right down into it. So here, I'll give you a little closer look of what this looks like, and then I'm going to set these aside and let these dry for about 24 hours. And after 24 hours, here is our little ghost and the little pumpkin. Now I'm going to give my little ghost a coat of my chalk paint in the color Snow White. Like I said, even though this clay is white, I still like to go over it with a coat of paint. Make it all uniform, give it a nice clean, getting all those little cracks, crevices. And for my pumpkin, I'm going to go in with my pumpkin colored chalk paint, aptly named. and give the bottom of, I guess, the main body of my pumpkin a coat of orange. And I'm just doing one coat of paint on all of these. I forgot to mention that even with the candy corn. So with all of my projects today, I just did one coat of paint for each color. It seemed to do the trick. So I'm going to be sure to leave my little stem here blank because we're going to do our stem a different color. Now while the pumpkin's drying, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the face of my ghost, and I'm going to use my little fine tip Sharpie marker just to draw the outlines of his face, and I'm just going to do a cute little, two little eyes and a little round mouth, little, I guess, traditional standard looking little ghost face. And then I'm going to use my black chalk paint in a really small paintbrush here just to fill in the circles. I didn't use my marker on this because, well, the chalk paint can kind of dry out the tips of the marker sometimes. If you have a paint pen, that would work perfect too. And I didn't have a black paint pen handy, so like I said, I just grabbed a small paintbrush and just dabbed right into, just kind of colored in the lines. I like my little ghost to look cute, not scary, nothing scary, just cute ghosts, cute, spooky. And then I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax, and this is just a very, such a light amount on my brush here. I can't even stress how light it is. And I'm just going around the edges just to gently highlight the edges and around and go over the sides, kind of getting those dips grooves, just kind of highlight them just a little bit. And this little wispy part at the top there. Look how cute. And for my pumpkin, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and a smaller brush here, and I'm going to use my antique wax to paint the stem of my pumpkin. I want it to look like a dried out pumpkin stem. And I'm just going to take my antique wax just a little bit down over the top of the pumpkin. Not far, just kind of like where you would see the bottom of the base of a stem kind of blending in to make it blend in with the body of the pumpkin. Now I'm going to use my brush too. I'm going to blot off even more of that antique wax, and I'm just going to lightly start going into those little grooves that I made in the pumpkin just to highlight all of those little pumpkin lines. Pumpkin lines, pumpkin grooves. I don't know. Do those have an actual name? Does anybody know? So I don't know. I just always call them little pumpkin grooves. Now I'm going to take my brush where I went over my little ghost, and I'm not putting any extra antique wax on it, just whatever was left over on the brush, and then just lightly going over. And this is a really soft bristle brush too, by the way. And just kind of going over the whole thing just to give it just a little bit of distressing. You could even paint a little face on this, like a little jack-o'-lantern face if you wanted to. And look how stinking cute. Pop these in a tier tray on a shelf. They're just so sweet. And these candles, I will link the video where I did those candles. I did those in a project last fall. They turn out so cute. Those are Dollar Tree candles. I will link that video in the description box if you missed it. And that is it for today's Halloween Half-O-Ween video. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to drop me a comment. Let me know which of today's was your favorites. Be sure to follow me on socials if you haven't done so already. And until next time, God bless and happy crafting, friends.